स्टार्ट करेंगे। तेरा मस्ती खाली करवा ली भाई। हाँ देखना बम कैसे आ रही है वहां से।
वक्त बड़ी खबर आज 12 बजे भारत और पाकिस्तान दोनों देशों को डीजीएमओ के बीच बातचीत होनी है। सीज फायर की शर्तों और आगे की रणनीति के संबंध में बातचीत होगी, जिसके बाद पता चलेगा कि ये शांति स्थायी होगी या फिर तनाव बढ़ेगा। आपको बता दें, भारत पहले ही इस मामले में तीसरे पक्ष की मध्यस्थता को नकार चुका है। तो भारत पाकिस्तान के बीच डीजीएमओ स्तर की बातचीत होनी है और दोनों तरफ से बातचीत होगी सीमा पर व्यवस्था को लेकर कि मौजूदा स्थिति बरकरार रहेगी या आगे क्या होगा। इसे लेकर आज की बातचीत बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इससे पहले भारतीय सेना की ओर से प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर स्थिति साफ की गई कि अभी तक क्या क्या हुआ है, कैसे भारत ने पाकिस्तान के अंदर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को अंजाम दिया, बदले में पाकिस्तान ने क्या किया और हमने किस तरह से उसके एयरबेस समेत तमाम महत्वपूर्ण आतंकी भवनों को नुकसान पहुंचाया और आतंकियों को मार गिराया। भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच सीज फायर को लेकर सूत्रों के हवाले से बड़ी खबर है। सूत्रों के मुताबिक सीज फायर में अमेरिका की कोई भूमिका नहीं है और पाकिस्तान भारतीय सेना वायुसेना की ताकत के आगे झुक गया। सूत्रों के मुताबिक भारत ने पाकिस्तान के 8 हवाई ठिकानों पर हमला किया था। 9 मई की रात अमेरिकी उपराष्ट्रपति जेडी वेंस ने पीएम मोदी से बात की थी और यह भी बताया जा रहा है कि पीएम मोदी ने साफ शब्दों में तब भी कहा था कि पाकिस्तानी फायर करेंगे तो हम जवाब देंगे। ये बात न्यूज 18 ने पहले भी बताई थी। इसके बाद अमेरिकी विदेश मंत्री ने जयशंकर को फोन किया। सूत्रों की माने तो भारत ने कहा कि कश्मीर मध्यस्थता के लिए नहीं है और आतंकवाद रुकेगा तो ही सिंधु समझौता आगे बढ़ेगा। आपको बता दें, कल अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने ट्वीट कर ये श्रेय लेने की कोशिश की कि भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच सीज फायर उनके कहने पर हुआ है, जिसका जवाब और प्रतिक्रिया दी गई भारत की ओर से और बताया गया कि ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है और आपत्ति भी जताई गई डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के इस बयान पर कि कश्मीर के मसले पर मध्यस्थता के लिए वो तैयार है। भारत ने एक बार फिर क्लियर किया है कि कश्मीर के मुद्दे पर किसी तीसरे की जरूरत नहीं है। और कश्मीर के मसले पर भारत ने दो टूक कहा है कि देखिए, कश्मीर जो भारत का हिस्सा, उस पर बात का कोई बात ही नहीं है, यानी कि उस पर बात करनी ही नहीं है। बात सिर्फ उस हिस्से पर करनी है जो पाकिस्तान के कब्जे में है, यानी कि पीओके। हम पाक से सिर्फ पीओके की बात करेंगे। सूत्रों की माने तो भारत ने साफ कर दिया कि कश्मीर में तीसरे पक्ष की जरूरत नहीं है, किसी और के हस्तक्षेप की जरूरत नहीं है। कश्मीर द्विपक्षीय मसला है, वो हम सुलझा सकते हैं पाकिस्तान से। कश्मीर जो भारत का हिस्सा है वो हमारी ही स्थिति है, हमारा ही हिस्सा है, और जो कश्मीर पीओके के अंदर है वो हम पाकिस्तान से लेकर रहेंगे। पीओके को वापस करना होगा। इसके अलावा भारत की ओर से यह भी कहा गया कि कोई बात नहीं है, अगर वे आतंकवादियों को सौंपने की बात करते हैं तो हम बात कर सकते हैं।
Get fresh mangoes in 10 minutes on Instamart. Order now.
What exactly has happened, because the question in all of your mind is what has happened and what is likely to happen. So I want to begin by saying that to get a sense of what has happened, you must have a complete picture of what has happened. You have been getting the news on television, but there are a lot of small details which you may not be getting on television. So it's important to come on the digital medium and share those details with you. Because sometimes what happens is on television, we don't get the time, we don't get the context. There's a discussion or debate that is going on, and then those small details which come later after the live coverage get lost in the period of the live coverage. So this video is very important for you to get a complete picture of what has happened in the last 48 hours. Now, therefore, this video starts with the early morning of 10th May. Early morning means very early in the hours on 10th May. So you will remember, viewers, on 9th of May, on the previous night, again around 8:30, right up to about 2 o'clock in the morning, we were under a series of these drone attacks. There were two kinds of drones which were sent by Pakistan. These are Turkish drones. They were either what are called surveillance drones, or these were armed drones. The armed drones carry a payload anywhere between 2 to 5 kilogram. You know, they can have some debilitating effect. They can cause damage. Now, those drone attacks that happened on the intervening 9th and 10th of May had led to some civilian injuries. We saw visuals from like this which came in from Firozpur, where there were injuries. When the drone lands, it's near a car, and people were getting very angry that what is Pakistan doing and what is our government doing. At this point of time, we have to decide how far to escalate and to which way to escalate. It is in this period that a very important decision was taken by Narendra Modi in consultation with the three service chiefs, the Chief of Defence Staff, the Defence Minister, and of course NSA Ajit Doval, that we have to climb up the escalation ladder. So what happens is, by this time, you will remember, we have already made Pakistan quite vulnerable because we have destroyed the air defense systems of Lahore the previous night. Then the big decision happens that it is time to deploy the BrahMos. The BrahMos missile is the most important part of our missile arsenal in the country. It had originally been developed by India and Russia, and it is called the BrahMos, and it is considered to be parallel to what is called the Brahmastra, which is known for devastating power, and it's a power which is used only under dire circumstances. When you're really under challenge and you want to immobilize the enemy, what do? You deploy the BrahMos. The BrahMos missile has great speed. It travels between 2.8 to 3 Mach, that many times the speed of sound. It travels at a very high velocity. And the most dangerous part about the BrahMos for Pakistan is Pakistan has no ability to detect the BrahMos. In fact, there has been what I believe an operation earlier to test the radar catching ability of the Pakistanis vis-a-vis the BrahMos. So in March, if I'm not mistaken, in March 2022, there was an incident, and I'm giving you the full background here because my idea is to share all the knowledge with you in this particular video. In March 9th, 2022, an incident had happened where this same supersonic cruise BrahMos missile had been launched, quote-unquote, accidentally from Ambala in Haryana. It flew 100 kilometers over Indian territory and went over 130 kilometers or so into Pakistani territory, and it landed in a place called Mia Channu in the Punjab province, and the Pakistani radar failed to detect it at any stage of this whole operation because it goes so fast. And the BrahMos missile is such a missile that it can fly at a 10-meter height from the ground. It can also fly at a 15-meter height from the ground. So it cannot be found. At that time, the Pakistanis did a press conference. The Indians had become so technologically advanced that the BrahMos came into their territory and they couldn't find it. Anyway, now to cut the long story short, somewhere I believe between 9th night and 10th morning, the critical decision was taken by the Modi government that let's go ahead and hit the command structures of Pakistan, of their avionics. And I had come on air the next morning saying, and we showed you the video, that precision strikes, this has been the third range of strikes on Pakistan had happened, and I named the air bases. I named the Pakistan Air Force Base Rafiki, visuals of that, Pakistan Air Force Base in Murid, Pakistan Air Force Base in Rahim Yar Khan, Pakistan Air Force Base in Sukur, and Pakistan Air Force Base in Chunian. But most importantly of all of these Air Force bases, the most important from a Pakistani perspective was the Pakistan Air Force Base in Noor Khan, Rawalpindi, which is known as the Jalala Air Base of Pakistan. Now, this is the most important air base of Pakistan. It basically is the whole strategic center of their avionics and logistics. These were all a number of strikes, and then later there were additional strikes confirmed in places like Jakobabad, in Bholari, in Skardu. All these strikes that we have carried out this time, we know where to hit in Pakistan. Because you see, we have done a very detailed intelligence assessment, which means we've got signal intelligence, we've got interception intelligence, and we have human intelligence. We have a lot of people in Pakistan giving us the information. So we know where their basic, most important Air Force installations are. When Chaklala was hit near Rawalpindi, that is when the Pakistanis got extremely nervous. Extremely nervous. I don't know whether we already hit their nuclear infrastructure or we were about to hit their nuclear infrastructure, but the fact was that the Pakistanis felt that we were minutes away from striking their nuclear command and control assets. And this is all that Pakistan has got left, their nuclear command and control assets. You see, viewers, Pakistan has been presenting itself to the world as the center of the Islamic bomb, the Islamic nuclear infrastructure of the world, and it wants to sell its wares to countries like Iran or any other countries, whatever. The fact of the matter is, there was an immediately nervous Pakistani response, and calls to Washington went. We at that time had intercepted all the high-end, high-alert communications. Pakistani military networks were under our watch, and they said that they need to intervene. And then the Pakistanis urgently, this happens by now by the early morning of 9, the Pakistani urgently called the US and say to the US that we are going to be under attack and our nuclear installations are going to be under attack. And J.D. Vance's office communicates something to the effect like something important has happened. This is a message that's going around that something important has happened, which is necessitating a very immediate American intervention. So there was basically a threat that was put out. I wouldn't even use the word threat. Nuclear alert which was put out by Pakistan. Washington said we will intervene directly, and then they told Islamabad that you have to go, you have to try and de-escalate, you have to call the Indians, you have to use the hotlines which exist. You have existing hotlines which are going on between your militaries. Use the hotlines and go to India. There was some initial resistance. The Pakistanis wanted Americans to intervene. America told Pakistan directly intervene, and at 3:35 on our time, Indian Standard Time, the Pakistani Director General Military Operations, then Major General Kashif Abdullah, he makes an urgent and immediate phone call to Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, who is the Indian Director General of Military Operations. Later, this call gets confirmed by the Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri during his press conference. This is effectively a informal laying down of arms that the Pakistanis have done. They've said, we don't want to be hit more, we want a ceasefire. Now, India is clear at that time. There is no third party. If you're hearing Donald Trump make claims about solving a 1,000-year-old dispute now, and that he is going to work his phones to solve a 1,000-year-old Kashmir dispute, etc., it is simply Donald Trump overplaying his card. You saw my first angry reaction when Donald Trump issued the press release at 5:30 on Truth Social. I will talk about that also later. But I still believe that we must accept that while the Americans have simply nudged, or rather some people say instructed, some people say ordered the Pakistanis to contact the Indians, the Pakistanis were told to contact the Indians directly, which they did. They laid down their arms. And then that's where there is a little bit of a slip up, because Donald Trump should have released his comment or his Truth Social comment after the statement from the Indian side, but Donald Trump, being Donald Trump, went and made a press release at 5:30 p.m. Now, why did Donald Trump issue out the press release? Why was it made to look like America has negotiated the settlement? Well, because America wanted it to look like America had negotiated the settlement. That was a very important day for Donald Trump. He was expecting to be seen as the author of two major ceasefires. Back-channel work was going on by the White House to get Putin to agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine, and back-channel talks were going on, and Donald Trump then felt that if India and Pakistan also agree to a ceasefire of sorts, then it will be a diplomatic coup for him. The Ministry of External Affairs statement was preempted by Donald Trump, and immediately a very relieved Foreign Minister of Pakistan put out this tweet in which he profusely thanked the Americans. After all of this, you saw a very brief statement come out from the Indian side confirming the ceasefire. Remember, it was only a three, four lines of a statement from the Indian side. It was not very detailed. No questions were taken, which means we were being reactive rather than setting the agenda. So there was a little bit of a communication gap going on at this point of time. And now the input which I wish to share with you, I have it from my very, 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 very reliable sources, ladies and gentlemen. And all of yesterday, I kept speaking to my sources. And in this notebook, I have made some very extensive notes of what happened after the ceasefire. So what happened after the ceasefire? Announcement was made by Donald Trump and the statement of the Pakistanis thanking the Americans profusely. The Chinese got very irritated. They were very angry. The Chinese told the Pakistanis very strongly, a phone call was made to Shehbaz Sharif, that this is an act of diplomatic transgression by you. You are being seen to be too much with the Americans on the American side, and you have denied us any role, whereas we are the ones who are investing in the CPEC in Balochistan area, and we continue to support you. We have issued a statement, and a statement was issued yesterday by the Chinese confirming that they will stand by the independence and sovereignty of Pakistan. That was seen to be a statement that was aimed at letting Pakistan harden its position. But you see, Pakistan had allowed the involvement of the Americans and gone on to the American side. What happens interestingly is after the phone call with the Chinese and between the Chinese and the Americans, the ceasefire violations start. When do the ceasefire violations start yesterday? Anywhere between 6:30 and 7:30. By 7:30 to 7:45 to 8:30, that is on the 10th of May, there is news of extensive ceasefire violations. And first it comes, of course, there are reports from Poonch Rajouri side, and then there is Samba which gets recorded, and then after some time we hear of explosions being heard in Srinagar. They were not explosions, they were our air defense artillery, which Omar Abdullah referred to in this tweet, which were basically firing away. Sounds like explosions. These were our ADA systems taking on the drones that were coming in from the Pakistani side. And then it was reported in Rajasthan. There was blackouts in Ambala, and then it was reported in Jaisalmer that there had been some kind of a missile transgression, and finally it was reported in Bhuj. So our entire western sector became very active, and despite no official confirmation from the government sources, I'm very proud that the Indian media put out the news about these violations of the ceasefire by the Pakistanis. Did the violation of the ceasefire by the Pakistanis happen on Chinese instructions? We can't say. Did the Chinese egg on the Pakistanis to transgress the border, to transgress the LOC, to keep the situation hot? We can't say. But one thing is clear, the Chinese were very irritated, extremely angry and upset that Pakistan had sort of moved across more or less to the American side. Interestingly here, you see, we have our own back channel going on at that time, and NSA Ajit Doval spoke to Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, and there were statements put out on all sides. So by now it became a big power game. India and China talking to each other. Wang Yi speaking to NSA National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Both issue a statement, and then almost by default within an hour you see the ceasefire violations, the number go down. By 10 o'clock, there was again contact established with the Pakistanis, with maybe the Pakistanis being nudged a little bit by the Chinese to stop the ceasefire violations, and a fresh attempt at enforcing the ceasefire happens effective 10:30 p.m. on the night of the 10th of May. Now this is the entire sequence of happens, and that fragile ceasefire continues as of this moment. But nobody should question whether the ceasefire happened. You see, it's very easy to blame the media. Media is hyping up things. It's not true. You see these visuals from Jaisalmer this morning, where you have the missile that came in from the Pakistani side being exploded, and these visuals prove it, that yes, the ceasefire did happen. There is enough debris on the ground to prove that there was another round of ceasefire which happened. A few things before I summarize this video. A, there is nothing called a formal ceasefire from the Indian side. All that we have said is that there is, as of now, there is no open, active situation from our side. That does not mean we are committed to an indefinite ceasefire. This will be subject to review constantly. Second point, the Pakistanis were very close to having their nuclear installations attacked. And if you go after the nuclear installations, the Pakistanis realized, and government sources also telling me, that India was very ready for yet another round of strikes, and we had everything on our target. We had Pakistan's energy infrastructure, Pakistan's economic infrastructure, and what the government calls Pakistan's deeper strategic infrastructure, which is an euphemism for their nuclear facilities. So if this had gone on for any longer, given the interceptions we have from the Pakistani side, it was very clear that it is not just the Pakistani feared that their nuclear installations would be targeted. It was a very real possibility that their nuclear infrastructure would have been targeted. So as of now, I continue to believe that we have the upper hand. We are also very cognizant of the fact that the Pakistani internal politics is not stable. You have seen videos like this, where Shahid Khattak, the Pakistani member of parliament, called Nawaz Sharif a coward, a person who does not have the courage to take Narendra Modi's name, a Buzdil, a Kair, and also a Gitar. Now, these are not ordinary statements. You've also seen videos of Pakistani politicians crying in parliament. You saw the video of Major Tahir Iqbal, who was seen in tears in the Pakistani parliament, and he says that I pray that Allah protects the Pakistani. There was a sense of helplessness. You also see the audio statement of a Pakistani former air marshal after the round of BrahMos strikes, where he says, we are rattled. We have nothing to defend ourselves with. Now, regardless of how much propaganda the Pakistani intelligence establishment, ably led by Hamid Mir, who's a shameless Pakistani journalist, who despite being targeted and the ISI tried to kill him, is a loyal bootlegger of the Pakistani intelligence establishment, despite whatever they put out there. The reality is that Pakistan was hit. They lost all their defenses. Their internal polity is up in arms. And therefore, I would watch the political situation in Pakistan extremely closely. Our digital video team has done a great job of putting together a very interesting video sequence of Shehbaz Sharif. And there are in that video sequence the statement of Shehbaz Sharif, which was supposed to go at 8 p.m. yesterday, Pakistan time, eventually went, I think, around 11 p.m. yesterday, Pakistan time, because the Chinese told him to put it on hold. Now, there are three things you need to look at in this video. His eyes are shifty, moving from left to right, like he is taking instructions. This is not normal eye movement. You can get any psychologist or any optometrist, for that matter, to check this out. The second point which comes out is that there are numerous jump cuts. There are jump cuts, ladies and gentlemen, is television lingo for edits. So that speech is not one sequence. There are 12, 13, 15 jump cuts or edits in that sequence, which means Shehbaz Sharif stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped and started, was being instructed. It was like reading a film script, and it was like an actor being told to put out a performance, and that performance was a very ineffective performance. So I believe he put out that statement under pressure from the army, because there are 3 or 4 references to Asif Munir, and to the greatness of Asif Munir. And I would therefore not be wrong in my assessment that Shehbaz Sharif and the civilian establishment in Pakistan is at its weakest ever. We will have to watch what happens with Asif Munir. Another thing we should watch out for is whether Asif Munir, who has now been strengthened by the Pakistani Supreme Court with new powers that allows him to arrest Pakistani civilians under military rules, will use these newly acquired powers against the politicians or the ruling establishment of Pakistan, who would be aware of his enhanced powers and his enhanced control and use abilities today within the power establishment of Pakistan. So, ladies and gentlemen, will there be a coup in Pakistan? I don't know. I am of a firm view there is an effective coup, and we must look at Pakistan from that perspective. What about us? Is this over? It's not over. The Air Force has put out a statement today saying Operation Sindoor is on. Every reference to Operation Sindoor is in an ongoing context. And that is important. Therefore, it is an ongoing context. It's like a volcano, from an active phase to a dormant phase, but not in a passive phase yet. So the situation is very dormant. We will all have to be very clear and cognizant of that present and ever-present danger that the situation presents to all of us. The Prime Minister has not put out a final statement yet, which means the Prime Minister is waiting and watching every single thing that is going on along the border. And even this morning, he has had a big, long meeting with the CDS, with the Raksha Mantri and others. We will have to do a clear and close assessment of our strategic communication, our global outreach, and our overall security, internal and external security apparatus, which includes influence, communications, media, outreach, and global presence. It will all have to be done as a part of the constant relook at where we are placed. We are moving from being a middle power to a great power. Towards being a great power, there are lessons in all of this. I also believe at some point, I am sure the Foreign Ministry will issue a statement contradicting what Donald Trump has said, to put a little bit of a wet towel over his grand expectations that he is going to be a global peacemaker. Why did Donald Trump issue the statement yesterday? Because he was not getting the concession that he wanted from Putin, and he needs a desperate role to be seen to be handling and organizing ceasefires in different parts of the world. Have we handed him one? Not yet. Have the Pakistanis given us a ceasefire? Yes, because they cannot take on the might of India. They cannot take on the might of India. There are no two ways of looking at it. Their economy is crumbling. They've got an IMF additional bailout of 1 billion. But what is 1 billion when compared to the 140, 150 billion that they owe to the world? They don't even have reserves of 10 billion. And with this kind of a situation, they can't even cover 2 months of imports. The kind of expenses they would have incurred in the last 2 or 3 weeks would easily shave off about $500 million from there. So Pakistan is in a very precarious state. And all viewers watch very closely what happens in Balochistan, because in Balochistan, the visuals that are coming in are showing an all-out assault. I am told that 4/5 or almost all the national highways of Balochistan are now blocked. And therefore, the world will keep a close watch on Balochistan. While we speak about POK, it is Balochistan which is even more vulnerable. And Balochistan is imploding. And that is why Pakistanis needed a ceasefire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my assessment of the situation right now. I hope it has been of use to you. And I look forward to coming back to you for more and more analysis here on the live updates on Republic Digital. I want to begin tonight with a situational report, because so many people were appearing to be angry that we called it off. First of all, we've not called it off. We have not called it off. Operation Sindoor is on, and Operation Sindoor will be on till we teach the enemy a lesson and the enemy learns to behave. If you watch the press conference today of the three operational heads of the Army, Navy and Air Force, a clear message is going out that we are keeping the Pakistanis under watch. B, they said very clearly that we are in a combat situation. How much more clearly do we want our armed forces to say it? Just because Shehbaz Sharif is claiming that he has been let off the hook, just because the Pakistanis are doing press conferences thanking the Americans that it's all over, and just because he is doing this press conference in which he looks to his left and then he looks to his right, and this press conference, it's not a press conference, it's a speech that is edited 15 times. Just because of this, because of a Pakistani claim, should we in the Indian media put out a story saying that it's over? If so, on what factual basis? I would rather always trust my Prime Minister. I would trust my Prime Minister. I would trust my Army, my Navy, my Air Force, my Defense Minister, and our National Security Advisor, and our Chief of Defense Staff over anyone else. And therefore, in this age of false information, misinformation and disinformation, and if there was a word like malinformation, I would probably use it, because the malevolent intent of this information, you're pushing out this narrative, oh, we've let them off the hook. Who let them off the hook? Consider the words of the Prime Minister that have been quoted today all over. I want to run those graphics. The Prime Minister says, hit them hard and hit them harder and keep hitting them. Are these the words of a Prime Minister who says we've let them off the hook? Hit them hard, hit them bigger, hit them deeper. He says, wahan se goli chalegi, yahan se gola chalega. The only matter left is the return of POK and the return of the terrorists. Now, I don't know who sees this as letting anyone off the hook. It's an active situation. The services have done their press conference today with the consent and support of the Prime Minister of India, the Defence Minister, the Raksha Mantri, and our entire government. And hence, therefore, let us be very, very clear. We cannot be taken by the words of claims of anyone else, not even those of Donald Trump. Not even those of Donald Trump. Many people have taken what I said in my initial response to the news that Donald Trump has announced a ceasefire at 5:30 p.m. and they made it viral saying, here's an Indian journalist questioning Donald Trump. Well, I absolutely will. Because I don't think Donald Trump has the right to meddle in our business. He has the right to be interested. He has the right to be curious. He has the right to try and say, can I facilitate something? But it is not for him to take ownership of a decision that is in our domain. And nobody's given him that because we have been told very clearly at the highest levels of the government, ladies and gentlemen, that there is no mediation that we need. We need no mediation on Kashmir or anywhere else. This is a bilateral issue. Anybody can make an offer. Anybody can say, I want to be a mediator. But there has been no situational change on the ground. And most importantly now, if you see the visuals of the Indian Navy, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm saying this repeatedly because I want this to go to as many people across the country that given the swathe of information that we have, far from let them off the hook, we have tightened the noose. Because we have said, don't you ever think that you're going to get the Indus Waters Treaty back. Our Navy, ladies and gentlemen, those are operational pictures. The reality is, we have locked in on Pakistan. We are locked in on Pakistan. That's as much as I can say, as much as I can reveal. But we are locked in. The dams must remain closed. The visas should remain suspended. There should be no sea trade. We don't need their airspace. We don't need their embassy. We don't need the Pakistani cricket. We don't need the Pakistani movies. We don't need the Indus Waters Treaty. And we will never forget and forgive, and we will never forget. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are saying on the other side is that you make any small misadventure now, it is going to be an all-out war. This is a fundamental difference from the situation under the Congress government. Now, nobody can save you, Pakistanis. Nobody can save you. This is the Narendra Modi government, and this government has set the principle in stone. This principle was not there earlier during the 1993 Mumbai bombings. It was not there during the 2001 Indian Parliament attack. It was not there during the 2008 26/11 Mumbai attacks. And now Khwaja Asif, the Defence Minister of Pakistan, himself goes on national television and says, we do dirty work for the Americans and we are happy to do dirty work for anyone else. And we are saying to them tonight, we catch you do the dirty work. You are a country that admits doing dirty work. You do dirty work against us. We're going to bomb the living daylights out of you. And we did this morning. We should, on the contrary, be incredibly proud that we used the BrahMos. We have taken a political decision, ladies and gentlemen, to use the BrahMos. When I was told by government sources, and I asked these questions many times, but when I was told with great confidence that we've used the BrahMos A cruise missiles, then I said to myself that Shahbaz Sharif and Asif Munir knows we've only used 3 of our BrahMoses so far. Only 3. We have hundreds of BrahMos missiles, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a government that will not stop of using its arsenal. This arsenal is not meant to be put in a showpiece, and this government knows exactly what to do with it when they need to do something with it. Why the BrahMos? We will not stop at using the K4 SLBMs. We will not stop as using the Prithvi series short-range ballistic missiles. We will not stop at using the Nirbhay subsonic cruise missile with a distance of 1,000 kilometers. Very sneaky missile, very deadly missile, right? A silent hunter for India. And we use offensive defense, we use the S-400, we use the BMDs. But I want to tell the Pakistanis tonight, remember this, you're not that far off. We don't need to use you should hope in hell we don't have to use the Agni 5 on you. We should hope in hell because you're not 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers away. We don't need to use a MIRV against you, which is gold standard in deterrence. You can't even dream of achieving this reach, but do not do this anymore. If you want to think that you can send your Pakistan-trained, Pakistan-funded, Pakistan-failed terrorists to kill Shubham Dwivedi in front of his wife just 2 months after his wedding, then you got one thing coming, Shehbaz Sharif. You're a weak country. And what we are doing, what the Modi government is doing, is that it's reminding you again and again that you are a country of cowards. If you killed Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, when they killed Lieutenant Vinay Narwal while he was on his honeymoon with his wife in Pahalgam, and we never forget the pictures of Himakshi, then we know how to take revenge. Be very careful. The same Indian Navy that Lieutenant Vinay Narwal has been a part of, when it takes its revenge, if it has to take its revenge for this, then remember, when you see these pictures, also put on the other side, ladies and gentlemen, the pictures of the Navy formation that has surrounded the Pakistani coast tonight. And there is not an ounce of exaggeration in my mind this evening. Not an ounce of exaggeration in what I'm saying. But what we need to know is that the resolve of this government is a result of the resolve of its people. And the people of the country are completely resolved. We don't forgive the Pakistanis for what they did to Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, for what they did to Shubham Dwivedi, for what they did to Yatish Bhai Parmar, what they did to Shailesh Himmat Bhai, what they did to Prashant Kumar Satpathy. We will never forget all this. We will never forget that all these people were killed not because they were criminals, not because they were spying for India, not because they were a threat to anyone, but simply because they were Indians. And that hatred that the Pakistanis have for Indians is extremely obvious. This is a combat situation. It will, if required, and you may ask, how long will this remain a combat situation? This will remain a combat situation as long as it is necessary. For the government of the day is guided by the will of the people. Republic, the voice of the people. The voice of the people is important, ladies and gentlemen. And the government of the day reflects the will of the people. And the people are not in no mood to forgive or forget. We have supreme confidence in our armed forces and in our political leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, nation stands united. We are in an active combat situation. It is not over.
Bro, Bawal. 5 minutes. Bro, Bawal. 5 minutes. Bro, Bawal. 5 minutes. 5 minutes में बाइक को टुकार, never too far, rapido.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
Over the last few days on Republic, you've heard military voices, you've heard diplomatic voices. You've not heard voices from what is called civil society. I never understood that phrase. We are all civil, but now they've created two societies in our country: civil and non-civil. If you're right-leaning, you're uncivil. By that definition, Mahesh Jethmalani, who's on air, is an uncivil man. Anyway, the point is, tonight I thought Mahesh, that I would get some voices from different aspects of society here, and people, so that we get a sense of how people are thinking about the present situation. So Mahesh Jethmalani, there were some people concerned yesterday that we've let Pakistan off the hook after the army briefing today, after, the knowledge that we use the BrahMos, and the fact that we continue to call it a combat situation, as the DGMO very rightly said. Do you think that public apprehension has been put to rest? And how do you view things?
Yeah, I think now that you've had the DGMO briefing and the statements of the Prime Minister, I think it's crystal clear that Pakistan is not let off the hook. We continue to be on alert. We have, as you pointed out, our Navy off the shores of Karachi, ready to strike if escalation and such a strike is required. If, in other words, if Pakistan continues to misbehave, so we are still in a war-like situation. We are at war because we fully adopted the doctrine that an act of terror is an act of war, and we made that clear to even the U.S. interlocutors that as far as we are concerned, we're at war, and an act of terror will continue to be war. So nothing has changed. Pakistan has a respite till tomorrow night, in as much as, to the limited extent, that we are withholding any firepower until further provocation. That's all it is. But we are still in a state of war. Everything continues. There is no mediation. What really happened, Arnab, is that the Pakistanis went begging after yesterday's crushing blow on their 6 army bases. They went because, remember, in their most revered retreat air base, which is Rawalpindi, the Noor Khan air base, we came very close to hitting their central nuclear command. And that is what made them run to the Americans, begging for a ceasefire, right? The Americans did not mediate. They only passed that message on, and it's now clear that our response to that message was ask their DGMO to contact our DGMO. This is not an American mediation. This is the Pakistanis running with their tail between their legs in the face of a ferocious onslaught, both on their terrorist infrastructure, initially followed up by a vicious assault on their army bases. And a message has been communicated, which we've taken cognizance of. Till the 12th, it's very, very interim.
I agree with you. Mahesh Jethmalani, I just got some news. You see, that's why I don't trust these Pakistanis. I just got some news. I'm going to take it through double confirmation, but we have apparently from Barmer, a DM has said that incoming drone activity spotted. Please stay inside your houses and observe blackout. So I'm going to have to get a second confirmation on this, but this is proof that it's not stopped. It's appearing to slow down a little bit, but it has not stopped. And that's the fact. It has not stopped. Yeah.
It also perhaps, Arnab, suggests that the incumbent military and civilian government has kind of lost control. There are a few loose cannons who are not obeying them if they've indeed sent a firm message down the line that this has to stop. It does indicate that perhaps there are some rogue elements still at play. Whether they have control over the drones, etc., or how they got control, I do not know. But that is a second possibility, if indeed the story of further provocation, which you've just mentioned, is confirmed to be true.
Absolutely. I'm opening this up to our other panelists right now. Viewers, that's Mahesh Jethmalani speaking to me tonight. Things are very interestingly poised. A fact is, viewers, what is the present situation? As of this Sunday night, I can tell you that in 90 minutes, we finished. In 90 minutes, we can go to some appropriate visuals with this also. 90 minutes, we decimated 11 air bases of huge strategic significance. We tortured Pakistans with drones and missiles through the length and breadth of their territory. And we came very close to finishing their nuclear command authority. And their air base that has been hit today, the Noor Khan base. The Noor Khan base is very, 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 very close to their nuclear facilities. So they are freaking out. Deepak Vora. So this is the broad situation there. So they are really scared. And they're crying surrender. They're crying surrender. The real picture should be they're crying surrender. It's a near surrender. When they've surrendered to the Americans to tell the Americans to tell us to save them. Deepakji?
Yeah,
broad picture. Yeah.
The broad picture is that they're running scared, as you've so rightly pointed out. What is the option available to them? They went crying uncle when we smashed them. Uncle said, let me see what I can do. And so uncle's number 2 called us and said, please, please, please. And we said, well, ask them to ask us directly. Why do you have to speak? They speak English, we speak English. They speak Urdu, we speak Urdu. We don't understand American English. So you ask these guys to speak to us directly, which is what they did.
Yeah.
They made the first call. And now they're going to continue to make calls. And if tonight they're going to misbehave. Sir, you remember what Prime Minister had said when he said if they hadn't released Abhinandan, it would have been Qatal ki Raat. Come on, Prime Minister. Come on, Indian military. Come on, the people of India. I, as an ordinary Indian, would like to see Qatal ki Raat.
Oh, absolutely, sir. I mean, this is enough. Is enough. Absolutely, enough is enough. We have hit their air bases with the BrahMos, with the Spice 2000, with the Scalp missiles, and they know we are coming. So the mood is changed. I think yesterday and today the mood is changing. Advaita, you keep your sense on the popular pulse. What are you hearing from the popular pulse? What are people saying now? How are they thinking?
I think the DGMO press conference today was something that was really required because yesterday when the ceasefire came, I think, including myself, we were taken aback because it didn't seem like we had gone as far as we needed to because the fog of war, the propaganda that one keeps hearing, for the general public, there wasn't much clarity on what we had achieved. Yes, one thing was for sure, that none of their drones, none of their bombs, none of their missiles, none of that got to us. So that was a clear indicator that our armed forces were defending our skies and our borders exceptionally well, and that's why we were safe. So it was an unequivocal success as far as that is concerned, which Pakistan could not do for their civil society, and their military establishment and infrastructure. Our people did, our armed forces did. So that confidence was there.
Kishore,
but when the ceasefire came, it was like a bolt from the blue. And today with the DGMO press conference, it's become clear that this was an operation. The operation had certain targets that were set, and those targets have been effectively achieved. And hence, this is a pause. And it's not necessarily a ceasefire. I think the other thing is President Donald Trump, who loves announcing these things.
Yes.
I know. With the Rocket Man, North Korea, or in any conflict anywhere in the world. I think that kind of, I think frankly the Americans, the Pakistanis made the Americans look really bad because within 2 hours, 45 minutes, Arnab, they were back to violating the sea.
Alive, গন্ধরাজ and neem soap. গন্ধরাজে তাজা, সাবানের রাজা।
ঠাম্মা, তোমার ওই স্পেশাল রিফ্রেশিং শরবতটা প্লিজ।
তার আগে একটা তরতাজা স্নান, আর তার জন্য চাই একটা স্পেশাল সাবান।
অ্যালাইভ গন্ধরাজ আর নিম সোপ।
কি জাদু Alive।
এটা একদম গন্ধরাজ ঠাম্মা।
এই প্রথম গন্ধরাজ লেবুর তরতাজা সুগন্ধ আর নিমের অ্যান্টিব্যাকটেরিয়াল প্রোটেকশনে ঠাসা নতুন অ্যালাইভ সাবান।
ঠাম্মা পুরো রিফ্রেশড।
অ্যালাইভ, গন্ধরাজে তাজা, সাবানের রাজা।
Ceasefire. So I think the Americans really got egg on their face because we in India know exactly what the Pakistanis are about.
Yeah. The other point is also tonight, and Kishore, you're with the financial markets. You are into investment. I want to get a sense from you how Mumbai financial market, others, business community is looking at this. Kishore.
Yeah, so good evening to all my panelists. Let me first tell you, Arnab, that on the day this event started, the Sensex and the Nifty was up. So it's a clear indicator that the Indian investors are upbeat and not worried about it. Point number 1. Point number 2, you should note very importantly, all the FIIs, every single day, from the day of attack, has been net buyers. I'm not trying to bring the financial angle to it, but let me tell you, this is the least of the worry for an investor. And as an investor, as a citizen, we are willing to lose some money on the capital market if our lives of the citizens are safe. Indians don't bother about investment because if we have invested something, it is on the country called India.
Excellent, sir. I love that.
The opposition's claim is concerned that we have retracted. Why did we go in for the ceasefire? I will tell you, Pakistan's situation today is exactly like Congress after the election when they declared victory after getting 98 seats after 3 consecutive defeats. So let not